A couple of months ago, I reviewed the BMW iX40 motor car. Reason I did that episode is because I wanted to play with the battery-driven technology. The iX40 is not a hybrid, there's no petrol-driven engines, it's pure electric motor vehicle, and the battery technology, how far BMW is pushing that. Now today behind me here, I have the BMW electric scooter. Yes, no petrol engines, no gasoline, nothing, pure lithium-ion battery. All this technology comes out of the BMW automobile developments. The scooter's designation is the CE-04. The 04 refers to the 400cc petrol-driven scooters that this would play in the segment. Now, a quirky looking scooter, looks like it comes straight out of a sci-fi movie. Actually, I think it's cool looking, but the riding experience is so different. It's surreal. It's quiet, no noise, seamless, no gearbox, no quick shifters. There's no exhaust note. So really a weird experience, something to get used to, but it also has some really innovative, quirky developments on it that I'll go through with you, which are quite cool, which I haven't seen on a traditional motorcycle. So before I get ahead of myself, let's go through the specs and features of this little scooter, and then let me take you for a ride on it. Here in front of me we have the 2023 BMW electric scooter with the model designation CE-04. And as I mentioned in the intro, the 04 refers to the 400cc category petrol-driven scooters that this scooter would play in that segment. Now, as I mentioned, it's not a hybrid. There are no petrol-driven motors on this vehicle. Pure lithium-ion battery at the bottom and the motor in the back here in the chassis. Now, the first thing you notice on this scooter is its wheelbase. It's an extremely long scooter, and just for comparison's sake, because I don't know if you can see it as well in this video, the comparison would be against the Triumph Rocket. That is the wheelbase of this little scooter. So starting at the beginning, the concept was shown to the public way back when in 2017 as the C-Evolution. The updated concept named the Definition CE-04 was shown in November 2020, and then in July 2021 BMW officially presented the final production version known as it is today, CE-04, and then it went on sale in February 2022. Now, going through the specs of this scooter, it's a little bit different to the petrol-driven engine, yet I'll try and keep it as simple as I can and give you all the specs. The whole powertrain, the technology, the lithium-ion battery comes from BMW automobiles. And to be more precise, the traction motor comes from the BMW X3 Drive 30e. And the horsepower on this motor, the output peak power is 42 horsepower, which is 31 kilowatts. And the continuous power is 20 horsepower, which is 15 kilowatts. And it's slightly different because on a combustion engine at 0 RPM, you have 0 power and it builds as your RPM builds. Now with battery technology, max power is delivered at 0 and then it drops off. So the instant power at 0 would be your peak power. And then you have your continuous power as you're riding, which drops to 20 horsepower, 15 kilowatt. But the torque is what's interesting on this, is 62 Newton meter, which is really nice. Now, just to put that in perspective, 0 to 30 mile an hour, which is 48 kilometers an hour, that's pretty much pulling off at the traffic light and being in traffic and not being an obstacle. So 0 to 48 kilometers per hour is in 2.6 seconds. So as you can see, it hops off the line. Also, the max speed is 121 kilometer, which equates to about 75 mile an hour, which you can see it's a really decent commuter, and you can run with traffic and not be an obstacle. Now, the lithium ion battery sits at the bottom, which is really good for the low center of gravity. The seat height is a low 780 millimeters, so it is nice. And the motor, what they call traction motor, sits in this frame in the chassis, and that is to reduce unsprung weight, not to have it on the rear swing arm or at the hub on the back wheel. Final drive would be through a tooth belt over here. As you can see, final drive tooth belt, also nice, clean and quiet. On the electronic side of things, you get 3 driver modes: eco, rain, road. You have the option of the dynamic mode. The difference would be that obviously the rain and dynamic road, the throttle response more aggressive on pull off, also more aggressive on the braking when you off the throttle, and that's to harvest and regenerate battery power. And it's obviously gentle, a lot gentler on the eco and rain modes. To give you some battery specs, 147 or 148 volts is the battery power. Volts is power on the battery, and 60 amp hours. That is a range on this battery. To give you an idea, that equates to 8.9 kilowatt hours, which is 8.5 usable. Lithium ion battery, and it was designed for the iX and the i4 on the BMW automobile range. Now, the estimate range on this battery or the scooter would be 80 miles or 130 kilometers. And again, with this battery technology, there's many variables, because if it's extremely cold, the range reduces a little bit, but also when you're hard on the throttle, you reduce it just like on a petrol engine. But also on the eco modes, and that when you're off the throttle, this regenerates power and loads the battery. So on your riding style, you can really change the range, but the estimate is set at 130 kilometers. Now, just a brief word on charging. This scooter only charges on AC, not on DC, which means only single phase, not the 3-phase, and up to 6.9 kilowatt charging. To give you an idea, 0 to 100% charge on the smaller 2.3 kilowatt AC output would be 4 hours 20 minutes. If you have the 6.9 kilowatt, you have 1 hour 40 minutes. So if you have 20% to 80%, you need 45 minutes on the 6.9 kilowatt output. So in estimate, you need around about 2 hours charging time to do anything with the scooter. When I talk about the brakes, pretty traditional. You have the dual discs up front over here, 265 millimeters with 4-piston fixed calipers up front, and at the back, if you look at that wheel, it does look like a spare wheel of a motor car, but it's not. You have the single disc at the back, which is also 265 millimeters with a single piston floating. You also see the ABS ring, because yes, this has ABS with lean angle sensor. As you can see, that tooth belt for final drive, nice and clean. And as mentioned, ABS with lean angle sensitive ABS. When we go to the TFT up front, you have 260 millimeters left to right, full color, or that's 10.25 inches. Again, you can have the connectivity to your smartphone and have the integrated navigation. I will show you when we ride how it shows you when you're harvesting or not. If we go to the bottom over here, we can open this port, which is for your smartphone. It's a ventilated port, and you have a charging port for your smartphone over here. And on this side is for your AC charging. And keyless start, which we'll go into now. If we look at the lighting of the scooter, LED as standard. And again, if you look at the scooter, completely up-to-date, modern, actually borderline looking like it comes out of a sci-fi movie. Fantastic little thing, and technology pushing it to the limits. This lithium ion battery technology with the motor in it does give you a handicap, which is the weight. The battery is quite a hefty little thing. So the overall weight of the scooter is 231 kilograms. The seat height is 780 millimeters. If you go for the optional comfort seat, it raises that to 800 millimeters. Now the wheels are 15-inch with cast aluminium, shod with a 120 at the front and a 160 at the back. The overall wheelbase, as I mentioned before, 66 inches. To compare that, it would be the Triumph Rocket 3. That would be pretty much where this compares against. The overall length of the scooter is 2 meters 285 millimeters, so 2.2 meters, nearly 2.3 meters in length. Now there are a few quirks over here on the scooter. One of them, if you switch it on and you push this button over here, it reveals storage for your helmet. Fantastic, lockable. Put your storage, lock your helmet away, and off you go. Another thing would be this side stand pulls a cable and actually actuates a handbrake. Because I'm on a downhill at the moment, there are no gears on the scooter and it's not rolling away. I will show you when I get on the scooter and pull up the side stand that it starts rolling forward. So all in all, here we have it, the BMW electric scooter CE-04. Let me jump on it and go for it. Obviously, I cannot do a sound check on it. There are no acropovics, so loud pipes save lives do not apply to the scooter. But let me jump on it and take you for that ride. All right, all kitted up and ready to go for that ride. Now the storage for the helmet, if you saw, this button over here should open it, but this only works once the scooter's on. If you push this keyless start, the TFT comes on, and then you can push this and you see it opens to reveal the storage for your helmet. Now another quirky thing is this side stand. My hands are off the handlebars. I'm just going to steady it. When I move the side stand in, it releases the handbrake and I start rolling. So side stand out, handbrake's on. The minute I pull it back, handbrake's off. Super cool feature. And then to start, you push this button and you see it ignite your TFT. It comes alive, gives you all your messages and tells you how much charge you have over here. 90 kilometer range, all your information, really big, 260 mil or 10.25 inches. Next step, you still don't have any activity. The minute you push this red button, which must be in conjunction with the brakes pulled in, you push that and you see your TFT changes to that. Gives you the message you're ready to go. Now when you see the screen like that, you need to pay attention. As you roll on the throttle, you start moving forward. You start moving, no noise, no sound. And you will see it go over to the right, and that is when you're using power. And when you're under the compression or off the throttle, you see it's harvesting, which is, it says charge over here, power on the right. If you want to go in reverse, like I'm on a downhill like this, and if I want to park it and go backwards, I push in this R button here, reverse. You see it says R, hold that button in and I open the throttle and the scooter moves backwards without any effort. Cool feature. So scooter's rolling down, you can see it's harvesting. I stop, push the reverse, and I can reverse it up the hill. Let go of the R and I'm in forward mode. So let's go. So again, you just hear the little bit of a whine of the motor and no gears. It's seamless, just runs up, and you can see how much battery you're using. When I roll off the throttle, you see it is charging and harvesting. Up here you see I'm in road mode at the moment. All your specs on the side. I have 93 kilometers estimate range. The peak power and the 60 plus Newton meter torque, you can see how this thing accelerates. Really quickly gets up to 100 kilometers an hour, and speed limit over here is only 80. So the difference in road mode, very simple. You have mode, road, push it again, you go dynamic, off the throttle, on the throttle, and you're dynamic. Now the dynamic gives you a more aggressive throttle response, and I think that's the rider modes, really changes your throttle response. a lot more aggressive on pull-off, but also the braking under compression and harvesting and charging is way more aggressive. So there's a lot of engine braking, if you want to call it, when you're off the throttle. In dynamic, it's more aggressive on the on, more aggressive on the braking. So if I go to eco mode, on off on the throttle, and you'll see a lot softer and gentler on the pull-off, and engine brake is a lot smoother. And I think for traffic that's perfect, because you can roll up to a red traffic light and not over brake. I think the spirited riding would definitely be dynamic. Road is if you in a hurry to work, and eco is where you just increase your range and commute quite comfortably. And then the last mode would be rain, as you can see, off the throttle on the road, and that reduces it even more. However, I don't know, me as a mere mortal, there's not too much difference to eco, maybe even a little bit gentler on the braking, engine braking and harvesting side of things. But I'm going to go back into road mode, start there, and here we go. You can see I can definitely speed limit is 80, and I'm shooting up to 120 in a hurry. There's not much engine braking. You can see my hands are off. It's not too wild on engine braking. It rolls nicely. A surreal experience, no gears, nothing to change. It's smooth. So I think when you're doing lane splitting, you have to be a little bit more alert, because obviously the guys aren't looking in their mirrors. They can't hear you coming. I always say loud pipes save lives, but there are no pipes on this thing. So also the front and rear brake story, we usually dip the clutch, and if you forget about that and you really pull the rear brakes, you're going to do a bit of a emergency stop. But the technology is quite phenomenal, because if you have a look on pull-off at this traffic light, I'm definitely going to jump off, and I'm not in dynamic, I'm just in the road mode. As soon as it goes green, we will do a hooligan pull-off over here. As you can see, whoa, you can see already up over speed limit. I'm at 100, and if you look in the rear view mirrors, there's no one behind me. Also, ergonomics wise, huge amount of space. On the wind protection side of things, not too much to speak of. There is nothing. I'm sure you can get an aftermarket or have something made, but if you look at the spaciousness of this, I can put my feet forward over here and zoot around town. It is comfortable. Center of gravity is really low. Seat is firm, but you have that little kick up to where the pillion rider sits, and comfortable. Speed, it is a perky little motor, and you can easily keep these speeds. You're not struggling for power. I need to get into this mindset that there's no sound. When I go into an intersection and I see like somebody moving forward, like the white car just now, you get a little bit concerned because they can't hear you. Did they see you? Yes, I have the lights on. So other things you get on this bike, like I said, the dynamic rider mode is an option, the traction control is an option, the adaptive headlight is an option. Here you have heated grips, you have the paddock, not paddock stand, the center stand on the scooter, which I think is an option too. But other than that, very familiar. BMW, all the controls. Look at this BMW wheel on the side with a menu button, super familiar. Indicators, horn, it's all there. And the rear view mirrors are over my shoulders. I can see clearly. I think in traffic like this, it's more comfortable to ride the eco mode because it's not as aggressive on the engine braking. If you throttle off, you still keep rolling, and you're in charge of the braking on the manual level. The brakes via the levers, front and back brake, are very powerful, perfect to stop on. And the road mode does give you quite a bit of retardation and harvesting, so that is pretty good. But as you can see, the back brakes are proper powerful. I'm switching to dynamic now. A little bit of a pull-off. Have a look at the speed climb. And here we go. It's a proper little scooter that you can do spirited riding. I'm sitting like I'm on a Harley Davidson chopper, feet forward. If you look here, controls are good, handling's good, plenty power on tap. Even at 90 kilometers per hour, there's more when I roll on. It's a fun experience, I must say. The concern is that, does everyone around me, does the traffic see me? Because they can't hear me coming. Even pedestrians, when they step into the road, you really have to make eye contact to make sure they've seen you. I always have the lights on, often put them on bright so they can see me. But here on dynamic, you can see when I roll off the throttle, the engine braking is a little bit on the aggressive side for traffic, and you can see the harvesting happening here on the charge side of things. So, but it's a spirited ride. Here you can see, I think if it wasn't for that heavy lithium battery at the floor, you would wheelie this scooter. I don't know, should we do highway? Why not? Why not do the highway? But I'm gonna go to eco mode. Here we go, in eco mode. In eco mode, as mentioned, the pull-off is a lot more gentle, smoother, and when I roll off, the engine braking is not as aggressive. So very relaxed riding, and I think in this mode you can extend your range a lot more. And if you remember to harvest and charge instead of braking, so when you see a red traffic light, roll off, and all the way down the hill you are charging this battery. Different riding style, but fun nevertheless. Over the next hill we'll jump onto the highway, and I'll switch back to dynamic mode and see if we're an obstacle to traffic. Top speed is over 120 kilometers an hour, and I got to 120 very quickly, but proof is in the pudding. Let's get onto the highway and see. Pulling off from this traffic light in eco mode. Again, it is fairly intimidating sitting here without any sound, like the vehicle's off. You can see softer acceleration. I'm not leaving the traffic behind, but plenty good enough. I'm already at legal speed limits of 80. I'm at 78. Comes up very quickly. As I mentioned in the specs, it's like 2.6 seconds to get 0 to 50 kilometers an hour. Very quick. So I'm going to now, after this traffic light, it has gone green already, switch to dynamic. You can see the blue over here, eco mode. Quickly hop in, rain, road, dynamic, and off the throttle and select it. So here we go. You'll see the going off the throttle, you have to be more gentle, because if you just completely roll off like I'm doing, overtaking, rolling off, it does break you a lot. Going onto the highway, here we go. Let's see how this little electric scooter pedals. Very comfortable, ergonomics great, spacious. I can move around on the seat, I can move my feet mid-mount, slightly back, all the way forward, like chopper, bobber style. And if I want to go real hooligan, I can put my feet on the rear footrests. Pillion rider. But here we go, rolling on, and let's see how we're going. Okay, 127, 128, I'm on the stop, 128, and I'm holding the speed. As you can see, not a moving obstacle, and feels good. I'm topped out on the stop. Scooter feels steady, no head shake, not loose in front, and I think that long wheelbase does help it. Very comfortable, changing lanes, suspension travel also ample for this little scooter, and because it's so low to the ground with a little 15-inch wheel, center of gravity low, long wheelbase, it does hide its weight very, very well. You don't feel it. It's nimble around corners, very flickable, and it holds its speed. So when it speaks about continuous power, the specs lie. When they say 20 horsepower, it feels a lot more, and I think that's due to the torque. Battery driven technology is definitely a lot more based on torque. You can definitely hear the wind noise. That's about the only noise you can hear. You can't hear, there's no chain, there's no motor, no gearbox, no motor whine. The only thing, because there's no wind protection, there's a lot of wind noise, so it's like riding a naked bike. The seating position, very upright. If you look, my elbows are pretty much the height of my wrists. I'm sitting comfortable, I'm far back, I can move my feet forward to mid-mount, and I can move forward and be a little bit more sporty. But it's a very comfortable overall ride. I must say, enjoy sitting far back, feet forward in this position, and it definitely, the scooter holds the speed of 128. I'm at 129 now. So the other positive is that altitude. Here in Johannesburg, we are 1,600 meters above sea level, and it does not affect it like it would affect combustion engines, petrol engines. You lose about 10-15% of your horsepower at this altitude, but with battery technology there are no losses at this altitude. So fantastic overall feel, fantastic ride. It is smooth and it's quick. I can overtake inside, outside, all the controls, very familiar BMW, nothing to learn. The only surreal experience is no gearbox, no engine sound, nothing to do but sit back and relax. And let's do a little bit of lane splitting in traffic. I would say dynamic mode is the wrong one for this application because of the aggressive harvesting, charging, if you want to call it. Going back to eco mode, here we go, back into the blue on the fly, and definitely gentler on the throttle response completely changed and suitable for this kind of commuting. You sit in a very relaxed position, I must say. The feet forward, you get used to it very quickly, and comfortable, actually de-stressing. You just have to be slightly more alert and make sure people can see you, because they will not hear you. As you can see, chap in front of me, no indicator, just pulls out in front of you. I'm sure if I had some really loud pipe like an Akrapovic Terminoni screaming, he would not have done that. But the width of the scooter, purposeful for lane splitting. You can see the balance, fantastic. At 13 kilometers an hour, I still have not put my feet on the ground. But here at 8 kilometers an hour, the balance of the scooter is brilliant. Center of gravity nice and low, and smooth linear power. And it's just brilliant how you can flick of a button on rider modes change it from a spirited ride to a gentle commute where you're in excellent control. Now that is one of the things with the early electric vehicles. The throttle was a little bit of an on-off switch, and you have maximum power at 0 RPM, so that was a little bit dodge. As you open the throttle, you had power. So with this eco rider mode, definitely smooths that out, and there's no anxiety when you roll it on. It's smooth, it's gentle, very manageable and controllable. And as mentioned, the handling is brilliant. It's stable all round. I must say, I've enjoyed this little scooter. I hope you guys enjoyed the short little ride and review of this electric scooter by BMW, the CE-04. If you enjoyed this episode, guys, please remember, hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, and most important of all, guys, please remember, hit that subscribe button to help me build the channel, and if you like, the reminder bell so you always know when I'm uploading something new.